No matter what is happening in your life, no matter what is happening, thank your lucky stars you are not Ted Wheeler today. Ted Wheeler is the mayor of Portland. Now, remember, what was it, last week where he came out and said, well, I've had enough of this. Oh, boy, let me tell you something this about Antifa. You got to get rid of those guys.
Yeah, after multiple years of them destroying the city, he's decided to talk tough.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of them. And you know any of these cretins, you call the police. Wait a minute, call the police? You hated the police. What happened? What happened? Well, that's kind of what Antifa is now saying. What happened? See, they didn't like him before. You see, they want something called anarchy. So Antifa has made a nice little video that is spooky as hell. I want to play it for you. I want you to listen. This is how far out of control Portland is. Listen.
Hello. We come to you as a small collective from within the anarchist and anti-fascist community. Do not speak for the whole, as each individual may carry different ideologies and beliefs about how things could, should, or will be accomplished. We hope with this message to simply convey a few points that are commonly agreed upon within this community. The mayor of this city is undeserving of his position. He has made it abundantly clear that windows to him are more important than human lives. But we are not just challenging the idea of having Ted as a mayor. We are challenging the idea of having mayors at all. We want abolition. Abolition is absolute. If peaceful marches, speeches, and voting were enough to bring about that goal, then we would have already been there. Window smashing and riots are a necessary escalation when those in power have proven that they are unwilling to listen and have made the choice to ignore you. We are moving with a sense of urgency because not only is the system destroying us, it's destroying the very planet that we live on. This movement encompasses the liberation of all those oppressed by the system, whether it be black, indigenous, Hispanic, etc. Nobody owns this movement, and wanting to or trying to claim ownership of this movement just leads to more division, which is counterproductive to all of our goals. We are on the same side though. And the more time we spend fighting each other, the less energy we have to fight the true enemy. So let's start local, with our own city's failed leadership. Ted, we are asking for the last time that you resign. If you ignore this message outright, the destruction to your precious way of life is going to escalate. Blood is already on your hands, Ted. But next time, it may just be your own.
Okay. Well, that's nice. It ends with the address of the mayor's house. Okay, look, may I just go through this here quickly? First of all, he says, I represent Antifa, but I don't really speak for everybody because it's a collective, and I can't speak for everybody in it because everybody has their own ideas. Now, this is a really interesting thing because we're all supposed to kowtow and think exactly what anyone tells us to think. But Antifa, apparently, at this stage of the game, has more respect for diverse opinion than current society does. Okay. Then they tell you exactly what they want. They don't want justice. They think justice is eradicating the entire system. Now, that seems like a threat to, I don't know, all of us. When they say, oh, no police, we don't really mean no police. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Then they say this is a necessary escalation because nothing else is working, and global warming. They're looking for the liberation of everyone. Now, this goes to a story that I will tell you in just a little while about how Los Angeles is thinking about letting 76,000 prisoners out onto the streets. Then, strangely, Antifa says, look, we have some problems with some people, but we all really need to work together. What? What? So we all need to work together. This is a call for everyone on the left to put our differences aside and fight together, because we can win if we fight together. We might want to remember that one. Then the next tip is think local. Maybe we should remember that one as well. Then it ends with a threat to the mayor. Now, here's what Andy No had to say about this. He said, the police and the FBI are now looking into this video and who posted it, et cetera, et cetera. Andy No was the first person to point out that the user Hazy1312 was the first person to promote the video and follow the obscure newly created account, not a threat. So Hazy1312, he writes, looks like a response has been formed to some of the anarchists in Portland after recent comments made by Ted Wheeler. Now, this guy is a far-left journalist. 1312 is coding for ACAB, all cops or whatever. And Hazy1312 is wearing the same mask as the guy in the video. On his little picture up there on the corner, he's wearing the same mask. And by the way, it was the website had been created right before it was released. And somehow or another, this guy just stumbled onto it. Oh my gosh, look at this. So I'm not sure it's going to be hard for the FBI, but maybe it will. Maybe this guy had nothing to do with it. Do you have any? I mean, I feel really bad for Ted Wheeler. I mean, no, I'm nervous for Ted Wheeler. I wouldn't want to be Ted Wheeler. I don't know what I would do if I were Ted Wheeler. I would take this very seriously if I were Ted Wheeler. But I feel for him as a fellow human being, but intellectually, I really don't have that much sympathy for him.
He's allowed this to go on in his community for so long when everyone outside of the community was saying...
He helped grow it.
Yeah, and everyone outside of the community was saying, hey, that sounds like a really terrible idea. Continued to do it all throughout the election that was going on. All through 2020, this was stoked by not only in Portland, but activists all over the country. And as you've pointed out 100 times, Glenn, they don't like a normal Democrat or even a left-leaning Democrat. That's not who these people are. They're not going to stop because Joe Biden got elected. That's what the left wanted to use this for. But it's not going to stop because of that. They're going to keep doing this stuff.
I'm not even sure AOC would be safe in the end. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all these people, they're just in as much trouble as Ted Wheeler is with this group. If this group would ever get real power, they don't hate the politicians. They want them eradicated. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be kind and say, well, we'll wait for the next election and let's see what the American people say about you, Chuck Schumer. They're not going to. I said this when? 2009? These people will drag people, including media, who are playing footsie with them. They'll drag them out of their broadcast chair while live on television and beat them to death in the streets. And they won't have a second thought because that's who they are. That's what they believe.
Yeah, you might want to take these people seriously when they start burning down your buildings and attacking police officers. It's like they act as if it's some little jokey college protest until it makes them move from their apartment. And it's like, well, it's hard. I'm with you. I mean, it's hard to feel intellectual sympathy for this. Of course, that doesn't mean that they deserve
you feel
any
human
of this nonsense.
Sympathy.
Yeah.
But intellectually, if these were just people we were reading about and it was history, I would have no sympathy for Ted Wheeler. Because it's not history and I have no idea what's going to happen and I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody, I do have sympathy. But intellectually, I mean, you don't put the genie back in the bottle. How is Portland or Seattle, how are they going to put this genie back in the bottle without extreme police force? And who's going to like that? Who's going to do that? I mean, you'd have to hire basically the thugs that are currently on the street to do it. I mean, what good, honorable police officer is going to be left in the Seattle or Portland or Minnesota Police Department?
And we should point out that the president, the former president now, tried to do something about this and offered help hundreds of times and was ignored and was called a fascist for even offering the help. So, again, it feels really difficult to muster up sympathy outside of what we're talking about, because this was utilized to try to make the president look bad for the past year. And now that it's continuing after the election, it's like, oh, gosh, like I can't believe what's going on. It's like, well, I mean, you brought this upon yourself. I mean, they continually acted as if this was not a real threat when everyone saw buildings on fire and federal buildings being attacked, police officers being assaulted. No one seemed to care.